taking online classes in Dumaguete City Science High School. In online class, students can work independently with less monitoring from their teachers. Thus, higher incidence of intellectual dishonesty among senior high school students is prevalent. Specifically, this study aims to answer the following questions. Number 1. What is the profile of respondents in terms of sex, track taken, year level, gadgets used in online class, and internet connectivity? Number 2. What is the extent of intellectual dishonesty committed by the students taking online classes in terms of the incidence or frequency of intellectual dishonesty, types of intellectual dishonesty, types of assessment where intellectual dishonesty is usually committed, and subjects where intellectual dishonesty is usually committed. Number 3. What are the reasons why students taking online classes commit intellectual dishonesty? Number 4. What are the countermeasures employed by teachers to minimize them or mitigate incidents of intellectual dishonesty? And lastly, what faculty development program can be designed to mitigate intellectual dishonesty based on the results of this study? Significance of the study. The main objective of this study is to determine the extent of intellectual dishonesty among senior high school students of Dumaguete City Science High School who are taking online classes last school year 2020-2021. With online classes becoming the new normal amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, incidents of intellectual dishonesty can be higher and more alarming. Thus, it is the hope of the researchers that the output of the study is beneficial to the following. School administrators to formulate policies regulating intellectual dishonesty among students who are taking online classes, or formulate a code of ethical standard for intellectual integrity. After the COVID-19 pandemic, face-to-face classes may be replaced by blended mode of learning or synchronous online mode of learning. Thus, it is helpful for school administrators to put in some policies governing intellectual dishonesty ahead of time. Next, guidance office counselor or staff to make programs for students promoting intellectual integrity. Next, advisors to constantly remind students the importance of honesty for the betterment of one's life and society as a whole. Faculty to keep themselves updated with modern technology and new versions of online applications to help them prevent students from committing dishonesty. This is to ensure that the formation of the student is not purely academic, but also a formation of their moral sense. Parents to guide their children to avoid dishonesty at all times. They may keep on reminding their children being honest in small things is being honest in big matters. And lastly, for the students, to give more value of honesty than the value of getting higher grades in a dishonest way. Definition of terms. These are the terms used in this study. Intellectual dishonesty. According to Sain and Thombusami 2016, it is any act of deception done with the intent to misrepresent one's learning achievement for evaluation purposes. Senior high students are students enrolled in grade 11 and grade 12, known as the senior high school program, which is still part of the basic education curriculum. Under this program, students may choose among 3 tracks. We have the academic, technical vocational livelihood, and sports and arts. Plagiarism is using another words or ideas without appropriate attribution or without following citation conventions. Fabrication is the act of making up data, results, information, or numbers and recording and reporting them. Falsification is the act of manipulating research, data, or results to inaccurately portray information in reports or academic assignments. Misrepresentation is the act of falsely representing oneself, efforts, or abilities. Anonymity describes a situation where a person's identity is unknown. In deeper sense, an individual is not recognized as significant other. Online class. This is a virtual meeting of teachers and students using internet connections. The meeting is facilitated by applications such as Google Meet, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, etc. COVID-19 pandemic is health crisis experienced worldwide brought by the coronavirus. Theoretical framework. This research study is anchored on the theory that a technologically mediated learning environment is susceptible to higher incidence of intellectual dishonesty compared to face-to-face class. Online class is a technologically mediated learning environment. Thus, it is somehow saddled with the problem of intellectual dishonesty. One major challenge in online class is that the meeting is virtual and students work independently with less direct monitoring of their actions by teachers. According to McG 2021, digital technologies also provide more opportunities for students to cheat. Technology and internet can both facilitate cheating. With online class becoming the new normal, we come to ask with this question: how much more when students work independently with less supervision from teachers and with the availability of digital technology and the internet? According to Conway, Klassen, and Keel 2010 in Deadman 2016, school administrators have been working with outdated academic policies and methods to prevent the use of technology-enabled academic dishonesty. And according to Maccabi 2006 and Keith 2018, studies suggest that most students realize academic dishonesty is morally wrong, but various outside factors or pressures may serve as neutralizers, allowing students to suppress their feelings of guilt and justify their dishonest acts to themselves. As you can see on the framework, it shows that different factors that may contribute to the decrease or increase of incidence of intellectual dishonesty among students. These factors are categorized into two: internal and external. The internal factors are caused by the would-be cheater herself, like her desire to get better grades or her fear of failing the subject. The external factor, on the other hand, are caused by the teachers who fails to explain what constitutes intellectual dishonesty and no supervision is giving assessment. Schools administrators who has no existing code of intellectual integrity, and technology where internet provides all kinds of information, especially on how they regard intellectual dishonesty. However, COVID-19 pandemic has changed drastically the landscape of education from face-to-face to virtual online classes. Online class is technologically mediated interaction between students and teachers, which results having a sense of anonymity between the students and teachers. According to Keith 2018, online class creates much more opportunities for students to cheat. Since for the first time, some schools and universities in Dumaguete City have been adopting online classes this school year 2020-2021. It is highly possible that incidence of intellectual dishonesty among senior high students increases. As to what extent, this research paper tries to address such a gap of knowledge.
The Conceptual Framework. The whole conceptual framework of this research study begins with the concept of intellectual dishonesty, the dependent variable. According to Keith 2018, intellectual dishonesty has become a challenge in the educational system even before the introduction of distance learning, such as online class and modular learning. In the figure, the main objective of this research study is to determine the extent of intellectual dishonesty among senior high students. The extent of intellectual dishonesty is measured by the following independent variables, namely types of intellectual dishonesty, frequency of intellectual dishonesty, types of assessment where intellectual dishonesty is usually committed, and the subjects where intellectual dishonesty is usually committed. In the figure, the concept of intellectual dishonesty points forward to another variable, which is online classes. This indicates that studying the concept of intellectual dishonesty has become more challenging and relevant to these days, since online classes now become the new normal amidst the COVID-19 health crisis. As emphasized, online classes create more opportunities for students to cheat or commit intellectual dishonesty because of some reasons. 1. Online class is technology-mediated interaction between students and teachers. Second, online is characterized by anonymity. And lastly, teachers have less supervision to students, especially when giving assessments to students. The relevance of the study is very timely. It is the hope of the researchers that the results of the study may help in designing faculty development program within the aim of helping teachers to combat intellectual dishonesty in online classes. Likewise, it may also help school administrators to formulate policies governing intellectual dishonesty committed by students. Review of related literature. A number of studies have provided evidence of the increasing incidence of academic dishonesty in academic institutions. As suggested in a study between 2002 and 2015 by Dr. Macabe and the International Center for Academic Integrity, cheating among students was found astonishingly prevailing. For example, 43%, 68%, and 95% of graduate students, undergraduate students, and high school students, respectively, admitted to cheating in assignments or exams. According to Lay et al. 2021, the cheating problem has become much worse mainly due to the fact that online classes become the new normal during this pandemic. This claim is supported by a number of studies showing that students and faculty members tend to believe that academic dishonesty, cheating in particular, is more likely prevalent in online environments. In response to the COVID-19, online learning has become necessary and exclusive in most educational systems. A brief review of situational factors that facilitate acts of academic dishonesty suggests that information technology has given students more enticements to cheat. According to Michaels and Meath, 1989, in Ravasco, 2012, previous research has shown that cheating occurs when opportunities are enhanced. And according to Lemming, 1980, in Ravasco, 2012, surveillance can be avoided, chances for success have been improved, and risks of punishment is lowered. Further, a Pew study focusing on the inconsistency between teachers and students' internet proficiency reported that internet-savvy high school students who were critical of their teachers' caution in using the internet to enhance learning also admit to knowing students who plagiarize internet resources or use other online tools to cheat outright. In a study conducted by Corlite, he explained that lack of awareness of the users may lead to copyright violations such as plagiarism, illegal photocopying or piracy, and copyright infringement. However, McNabb and Olmsted 2009, Spalding 2009 indicate that there is no evidence based on environment. And Greaser, Black and Dawson 2008 believe that students perceive there is less cheating in online environments. While there is little agreement on where most cheating occurs. According to Stuber-McQueen 2009 et al., there is some evidence that less cheating occurs online than in face-to-face courses. It is important to note that much research about cheating in general is based on self-reports of cheating or student perceptions of academic dishonesty. The research methodology. Let's start with the research design. This research study will utilize the descriptive quantitative design. This study is descriptive since the interpretation of results is shown in tables with verbal description. And it is quantitative since the data that will be collected are given numerical values. Using a self-made questionnaire, the extent of intellectual dishonesty among senior high school students who are taking online classes will be determined. In the questionnaire, the extent of intellectual dishonesty is measured by the following independent variables, namely, frequency of intellectual dishonesty, types of intellectual dishonesty, types of assessment where intellectual dishonesty is usually committed, and the subjects where intellectual dishonesty is usually committed. The data gathered from the survey will be treated with simple statistical tools such as percentage, and it will be presented in tabular forms. Each table is given a verbal description. Research instrument. The instrument used to gather data in this study is self-made. Since it is self-made, validation of the instrument is necessary. The validation will be done with different group of senior high school students who are also taking online classes last academic year 2020 to 2021. The instrument is divided into 4 sets of questions. The first set of questions is about the profile of respondents. The second set of questions is about the extent of intellectual dishonesty. The third is about the reasons intellectual dishonesty is committed. And lastly, the fourth is about the measures employed by teachers to minimize the incidence of intellectual dishonesty. All questions are closed types that can be answered only by choosing 1 or 2 answers. The research environment. The research environment of this study is the Ramon Teves Pastor Memorial Dumaguete Science High School, located at Maria Asuncion Village, Daro, Dumaguete City. It serves as a regional science high school for Central Visayas region. Research respondents. The research respondents of this study are the senior high students of Dumaguete City Science High School, officially enrolled this school year 2020 to 2021. One important qualification of respondents is that they opted to take online classes rather than the modular mode of learning. Dumaguete City Science High School is implementing online classes in full scale, including the senior high department. In the selection of respondents, age qualification is also considered. No respondents under 18 years of age are chosen so that their participation in the study shall be voluntary. Data gathering. Permission to conduct the research study among senior high students will be secured from the advisors of the students and the principal of Dumaguete City Science High School. Once the permission is secured, the researchers will ask assistance of the advisors of the students to float the survey questionnaires in Google Forms to the respondents. The advisors have the email addresses of the students. They will just provide the link of the survey questionnaire in Google Forms to each student through his or her individual email address. In Google Forms, responses of the survey are automatically recorded online. The responses will be retrieved for tallying and interpretation of results. Statistical treatment. The data gathered from the survey will be treated by simple statistical tools such as simple frequency count and percentage. Simple frequency count is simply done by counting the answers of the respondents. In doing so, it is a way of giving of numerical value, which is the quantitative value of the data gathered in the survey. From this numerical value of data, percentage is computed. The references.
This has been Donacy Ojales,
And Daffodil Nocete saying,
thank you for listening to our research proposal presentation,
keep safe.
and God bless.